Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's Better on Draft.
Hello and welcome to Better on Draft, episode 388. My name is Rob. I'm one of your hosts, and with me today is Wendy. Hi, Wendy. What are you drinking?
Today I am drinking a Lush from Batch Brewing. It was their release for their 11th anniversary this year.
Exciting. Myself, I am drinking a traditional Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. There will be a question about that later. And we're going to go around the horn. Those of you who are watching the video out there, you will notice that we are a lot smaller than we usually are. That is because we have so many guests. But Greg, hello, welcome back. What are you drinking?
I saved this from a serious night out last night. This is Urban Ort's Maple Pecan Chili Stout. It's got chilies in it from a friend of ours who sadly passed away recently. And he was kind of the chili king of New Zealand. So I love heat in the beers, although I've got a fun judging story about that later. And and I just thought it was a good thing to have at 8:30 in the morning New Zealand time. So, you know.
It sounds like a breakfast to me.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, Bill. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a worldwide stout aged in a Utopia barrel.
Greg is drinking early in the morning, and we are coming at a special time at 4:30 in the afternoon, and I applaud your choice.
Thank you.
Hello, Michelle. What are you drinking today?
Hello, I am drinking a fine Cerveza del Rey Negra from Brew Detroit.
Excellent. Some good Michigan beer. So today we are going to talk about beer judging, and we have with us three beer judges. So from a couple of different parts of the world, Michigan and New Zealand. But I imagine you all get around in some of the same circles. Whether it's been at the same time or not is kind of a crapshoot, is from what I understand. But we'll go ahead and get started. It's going to be tricky because there's three of you who all have probably different stories. So we'll go backwards in order and say, Michelle, how did you get started in beer judging?
So it was my husband, Bill.
Okay.
He got me. So he has been a beer judge for many, many years. And he used to drag me to all these beer competitions where I would steward. And stewarding is such an important job because you have to know how to, prepare the bottle, put it on the table. It's a glorified server's position, but it's also super important because you also have to know how to handle the scoring sheets. The more the judges like to drink, the more you have to call them out on their math. So after many years of, I've seen some interesting numbers, believe me. But after many, many years of stewarding, I took the leap of faith and said, well, all right, let's go ahead and try this. Let's try becoming a beer judge. I mean, I like to drink. I have sat in on so many competitions. Why not? And at this point, Bill had already become a beer judge. So he was an excellent tutor about what I should be studying for the entrance exam and what I should be looking for at the tasting exam. Admittedly, my entrance exam is probably harder than most industry certifications that I've ever taken. You have to be fast and you have to know your stuff. So that's kind of how I got into beer judging.
It's interesting. It reminds me, I was a swim dad, and from there became a meet director eventually. So just one of those things. Some people,
it's the gateway.
They hate sitting there watching the stuff go on and have to participate somehow.
Yep.
And Bill, how about you?
I actually started doing it because of my brother. And this was back in 2008. And we then took Rex Halfpenny's class. And if you don't know who Rex Halfpenny is, he kind of was like the beer educator of Michigan for many, many years. He also had a magazine that was called, what was Shell, do you remember what the magazine was called? I'm blanking right now.
Michigan Beer Guide.
Yeah.
Michigan Beer Guide. Yeah, Michigan Beer Guide.
Mhm.
And so that came out monthly and was a great resource and like would tell you about everything that was going on in the area and stuff like that. Well, he ran a class and my brother and I took it. And then back then it was still the old BJCP exam where you had to write out essays and while in the middle of taking drinks and stuff like that. And it was probably the hardest test, I've ever taken along, I'm a tech guy. So I've got like 37 Cisco certifications and things like that. And my beer test was the hardest test I ever took. But it was really a cool experience and then started judging from there. And I've judged well over 300 competitions since then, I think.
Yeah, excellent.
So,
And Greg, you get a chance now. How did you get started?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of the fraud in the room, I guess. I'm self-trained because we didn't have BJCP down here. You could do it online, but to maintain it, you have to judge a certain number of competitions a year, and we just don't have them. So I kind of got backdoored in. I was at about the same time as Bill. We were running the National Homebrew Competition in New Zealand, and my wife was the head steward, and we would organise it. And I ended up just, because I was drunk with power, I put myself on as a trainee judge and sat down at the table with a very good friend of mine, Kelly Ryan, who's, an absolute genius. And he just sort of took me under his wing and he started to say, hey, you've got a really good palate. Did you want some more experience at this? And we judged a lot more together. And eventually he recommended me to the guys that run to the Brewers Association in the States, who run the World Beer Cup and Great American Beer Festival. So I ended up going there. So I'm a guy who's never sat BJCP, who's judged, World Beer Cup and Great American. So it's kind of a bit weird. I fully agree with you guys on how hard the BJCP test is, though. I took it for my own amusement. You can get the online copies and stuff. And I'm not sure I would have passed, to be honest. I really don't. Like, my memory of styles is not great for the detail that you need to have. And I justify that with, well, in any competition, you've always got the style guide right there. And you usually know enough to be quick. You can go, well, that seems off. I'll just quickly check. And of course, when you're flipping between BJCP and Brewers Association styles, they differ quite drastically anyway. So having all of that in the head might be useful, but it could also be a detriment when you're judging one or the other. So I guess that's a long way of saying I'm a complete fraud.
Not at all.
I'll give Wendy a chance here in a minute, but Greg had just mentioned that there's BJCP and Brewers Association. Does anyone want to talk about the differences there? Is the certification different? Are they running different? Is it just that they're running different competitions?
So the BA is just a style guide, basically. The BA is the Brewers Association, but their styles that they put out, there's just a guide. They're not a certifying body. They don't do anything like, you don't have to sit an exam to judge a Brewers Association comp. And in fact, most of the people that I've judged with over there have been BJCP judges or just pure industry. There's quite a few like me who haven't sat any formal exams. They've just, taken sensory programs at their places of work and things like that. So it's just one set of style guidelines versus another. And the BA styles are defined slightly more commercially. They're more into, what's in the market versus the BJCP, which leans more historical.
Yeah, and there's also in the cider and mead worlds, there's also the Cider Association and the mead association, and both of them have their own style guidelines and their own judging rubrics and things like that. So, but as far as beer goes, there's lots of people doing stuff, putting out things, but I think the only one that really does certification on judging is BJCP. The Cicerone does have certifications, but they're not specifically around judging. They're more about serving and evaluation than necessarily judging of the beer.
They both covered it very well. I found it. I admittedly had just learned about the Brewers Association, so I was, for lack of a better term, I was raised with BJCP and the Cicerone exams. So it's pretty interesting the amount of rigor that BJCP puts you through. As it was said, that the test is very difficult to BJCP because you have such a short time to answer these online questions for the entrance exam, and it covers a lot of like what hops, what yeast. I remember one of my questions was like, oh well, the pH of a water is this. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And Bill, you would know, you know as much better than I do. How many questions is the entrance exam?
I've never actually taken the entrance exam, but I've sat next to you taking the entrance exam because I took the full test before the entrance exam existed. But I think it was 300 questions in an hour, I think.
I think it was like hour and a half. Because I remember specifically, we were at Metazoa in Indianapolis. Great place. Love that they catered to dogs and beer. I mean, what could you ask for more? And our good friend was he had tried taking the entrance exam several times. Like he bought the 3-pack exam, because a lot of people will fail their test several times. And we walk up like, hey, what up? He's like, shh. And I'm like, oh, he's trying to take the entrance exam because they were hosting the tasting exam the very next day, and they had a couple slots open. So he had been trying so hard to pass this. And the thing is he's a very talented brewer. He knows his stuff. It's just these questions aren't just one-liners. They're like 3 or 4. It's almost a paragraph, and you have to literally get through 300, pardon me if that's incorrect, a bucket of questions in such a small period of time. So you have to be a speed reader. You have to know your stuff. And then some of these questions, you're like, what did this just ask me? Are you kidding me? So it's if you pass your entrance exam, it's major hats off. I'm a cybersecurity professional by trade, and I still stand by that this is the hardest exam I've taken to date.
But it prepares you for the judging, right? Where you have to taste 300 beers in 130 minutes or whatever.
The tasting portion, I think, is 6 beers that you judge, and usually on, they tell you to expect a few really good examples of the style. Then you're also going to be getting stuff that are drastically flawed, and then you'll also get things that are definitely in between. And they will also do things like miscategorize something, and so you need to be able to say that they gave you a West Coast IPA that they put in as a American blonde, right? And then, but you have to judge it as an American blonde. You have to give it a score as if it was American blonde, which is sometimes hard to turn your brain to that. And you don't have guidelines. So you have to then think about what an American blonde is and how that's supposed to taste versus what you're tasting as a, West Coast IPA, right? And so you have to pull the things out that would be appropriate, but also pull out the things that are definitely not appropriate, and then judge it in that manner. And I think that's probably one of the hardest things on that test is really, giving good feedback on something that is obviously out of category.
I will agree with that.
Yeah, doesn't your heart always just break for that poor brewer when it's in a live situation?
Oh yeah, I've had ones where they were just beautiful beers and just not in the right category, and it's like, it's heartbreaking because this might do well, but it's not going to do well because it's in the wrong category.
It's not to style. So I do have a couple of questions that we're going to go back to on that, but before we get off of the BJCP testing portion, I did look it up real quick. It's 180 questions in 60 minutes.
That's what it is. Okay.
So
yeah,
still still very hard, even though it's not 300.
Yeah.
60 minutes is not a long time to read 180 paragraph style questions.
I'm not surprised it felt like 300.
Yeah,
It
probably
does.
I'm sure.
And and they're very nuanced too. So sometimes it'll be like, which two beers describe this paragraph, and it talks about a paragraph of things, and which two best fit that. But all four answers sort of fit. It's just the one that's the best. So you have to like really nitpick out everything that's in that paragraph to figure out what it is that best fits.
But before we get off the actual BJCP judging portion, I want to talk a little bit about the tasting exam. Yep. Because I'm studying for my Cicerone, and that's the thing that scares me the most is the tasting portion. So I want to know what your experience is with the tasting exam.
So I talked a little bit about that area. Go ahead, Shelley. You want to?
So I took my my beer tasting exam about 2 or 3 years ago. 2 years ago. Sorry. So having the most recent experience, I always recommend having a light beer before you go in to judge, because it is so nerve-wracking, because you're sitting down there, they give you a test packet, everything's upside down, they're telling you don't look at anything. I mean, to be fair, it's just a judging form. And you kind of have to be prepared for at least the BJCP tasting. You have to be prepared for anything they throw out at you. Whether it could be flaws, where I know I had a beer on my exam that had acetaldehyde. I've had another beer that had diacetyl, and diacetyl, like, I know Bill's like, explain. Diacetyl, it tastes like butter popcorn. You walk into a theater, you just get that, like, it's in the air. It just has that buttery popcorn. You can get it on the flavor. But to what Bill was saying is that I had they dropped the beer in front of me, and they said, here you go. This is going to be a Kolsch. I'm like, oh, awesome. Thank you. You're not allowed to have your style guidelines out while you're judging this. You have to know what a Kolsch should taste like. And I took a sip of it, and I was like, wow, this is an amazing Hefeweizen. So I had to judge a Hefeweizen as if it was a Kolsch. And I'm like, oh, man. And it was hard to turn your brain off. You had to say, well, the aroma, the visualization looked identical. And as I'm pointing to a dark Mexican style lager right here. But if you imagine this is a Kolsch and I was judging a Hefeweizen, they looked very similar. I'm like, okay, cool. Visually, it looks great. Moving on to aroma, I'm like, oh, that does not smell like a Hefeweizen. It has that, just that amazing. Bill will probably jump in here in a second, but I believe it had like a nice bubblegummy kind of character. You'll have to forgive me. And then I took a sip of it. I'm like, that's definitely not a Kolsch. And that's the hardest part, is turning your brain off, because your one brain wants to say, hey, this is not a Kolsch, but it's really good. And I'm like, so you're working your way through, and the biggest thing they hit when they express is, as you're judging, you cannot tear a beer apart. You can't say, oh my God, this is god awful. This is the worst thing I put in my mouth. Because we have had that where I'm like, oh my God, this tastes like a bum's pocket. Mm-hmm. You can't say that. You have to find some good. And whether it be, oh, the smell's wonderful, or, oh, this is a gorgeous color, or it doesn't matter. You have to say good things about it to a point. And then when you're marking it down, you can't just say, be a better brewer, because I unfortunately that doesn't work, and it's not constructive. Because we work a lot with homebrewers, so homebrewers are taking that chance to submit their beers and saying, all right, good luck. This is my baby. I spent all this time on it. And if you're finding issues with it, it's imperative to say, hey, perhaps you fermented this too hot or with a warm temperature around the vessel, or hey, did you give your yeast any nutrients? Giving them feedback like that helps build a better brewer, and that's really what we all strive to do. Is we strive to build up the community. We strive to help people become better brewers. And I guarantee you that brewer might take your comments and they can say, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Or they could say, maybe I should do that. And it's up to the brewer, but at least you as a judge, your job is just not to say this is god awful. You can say, you know what? This is an interesting thing. But so, Bill, I'm going to turn it over to you. You have a little bit more experience about the exam than I do.
The only thing I would say about doing that, the tasting exam, and the Cicerone's slightly different, but I think it follows a very similar kind of format, is literally follow all of the little like hints at the bottom. So under each section, so if you look at like aroma, it'll say, talk about the hops, the yeast character, the grain character, the water profile, all these different things, right? Make sure you write about each of those things that they talk about. They even say like go in and like once you're done talking about it, cross it out. That way it keeps you like in line to talk about all those things, because they want you to talk about every component that is expected on that sheet. And so you'll also, at least on the BJCP, it'll have the flaw names off to the side, but no descriptors to those. And they want you to make sure you're filling out everything in the sheet. So like if it has acetaldehyde, check acetaldehyde. If it's oxidized, check oxidation, right? That type of stuff.
Good to know. So let's get into the actual beer judging portion. I need some stories. What are some of the more interesting beers that you've judged?
Okay, so there's interesting and then there's like fun experiences. Let's start with one of the more interesting ones I've ever had. There's actually two. I'll start with two. The first one was probably would have been 2012 or 2013. The state fair competition. It was being held at Dragonmead, and it came to us, and it was in the specialty category, and it specifically said made with my mother's ashes. We did not try it.
I would not have tried it either.
We abstained, and we just said that no, hey, that's against the rules. You can't do that kind of thing. But that someone entered that beer, so that was fun.
Wow.
And then another one was that we did try, because it technically wasn't wrong, and it was actually an okay beer. Was 2 years ago at the Indiana State Fair. There was a beer that they made with this natural kitty litter. That's basically it's basically ground up corn, right? And so it's literally just ground up corn, but they literally named it as this kitty litter stuff, is part of the thing that was in it. And it said it's organic and all this stuff, and I'm like, screw it, I'll drink it. Why not?
It was actually really good.
Yeah,
it was really good.
Don't take this the wrong way, but man, brewers think they're funny.
They do.
Some of the names that they come up with are hilarious.
Yeah, and then as far as an experience, one time we were at the Ohio State Fair, and
oops,
Uh-oh.
He gone.
So Bill's buffering, and so I actually know where he's going with this,
And,
so I'll jump in. Are you,
I think
yeah?
I might be back.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
So it's still lambic, and
Mhm. Okay, so
Uh-oh.
let me take over because he's
I think-
currently buffering. So we were at the Ohio State fairgrounds, and he was judging still lambics, and so I was stewarding the table. So I dropped the bottle on the table. Like, so when I drop, I'm not dropping. I'm placing the bottle on the table. I'm making sure I'm organizing the sheets. And I look over and I see Bill, he's getting ready to open it up. Again, this is a still lambic. And Bill, I'll let you tell them what happened next.
so we open the top, and all of a sudden it sounds like a shotgun, and we're in a warehouse. So this is like 2-story ceilings warehouse, and we pop it open and it hits the ceiling. Is that much carbonation in this 1 liter bottle, and everyone at the
So everybody at the table are like, I come running over with a bucket to try and, to cover the geyser that it was. And I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh. So we were able to, no one took a beer shower that day. So obviously, this is a good example of a beer. I don't think it was miscategorized. We believe that it started re-fermenting in the bottle. And so the 2 judges that were judging it were like, well, can we get the second bottle? Because when you're judging beer, most brewers, and depends on the competition, you have to submit at least 2 bottles of beer. One is to go through the preliminary round, and then if your beer makes it to best of show, you have a secondary bottle that you get to open. And then Bill's back, so go ahead.
Yeah, so we open up the second bottle, and they like do it over a sink this time because they knew it was gonna happen. And we're going very lightly, and it's just showering over. But we have a pitcher under it as it's showering over into the thing, and we try it. It's absolutely wonderful. But again, they entered it as a still lambic, and this was far from still. But it was actually a really nice tasting lambic. But it absolutely didn't, go too far because it was, again, miscategorized a bit. But it was fun. That was definitely an interesting one, and I smelled like lambic the rest of the day because I was literally soaked from head to toe in sour beer.
We had an
I mean,
experimental.
there are worse.
I'll give you one. We had an experimental category beer, and it was I can't remember the name of it, but it was the theme for Hannibal Lecter, and so it contained liver, fava beans, and a small amount of Chianti wine, and it was and great for some reason, if I remember correctly, gravy. It was repulsive. So we said, well, we can't give points for concept, but the beer was terrible.
Yeah, that does not sound tempting.
I say most of my judging experiences, they're very similar to Bill's because a lot of times when I'm usually at the same competition. But I will say one time I was judging, it was a homebrew competition, and our friend walked over and said, "You need to try this beer. It's so good." And so I was like, yeah, sure. So, and we were in between sessions, by the way. So in between sessions, you can talk amongst each other and have conversations. So I'm like, yeah, sure. And I take a sip of it, and I go, I know whose beer this is. And they're like, oh my God, it's so good. I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. So Bill comes walking by, hey, Bill, come here. And he comes over. I'm like, what do you think about this beer that Annie's raving about? And he takes a sip. He goes like, it's a good beer. And it was actually Bill's beer that Annie had judged. There was one time, so we judge both commercial and homebrew competitions. But I will say one fun time about beer judging. One of my favorite competitions is the World Expo of Beer, held up in Frankenmuth. They used to have a homebrew competition, and they still continue with their commercial. So I was a steward at this time, and I was looking at the category. And so what's different about this competition compared to other competitions, there's no writing. It's pretty much we drop a bunch of cups down that are numbered. And there's usually 2 to 3 judges, and they work their way around the different types of beer. And you just pretty much, they tell me what number is 1, 2, or 3. It's a very fast-paced competition. It's an incredible competition. I'm glad it's still going. But I had to drop all these beers on the table and keep a straight face as I know they're drinking Sam Adams Utopias. and it was right next to, and so Sam Adams Utopias was right next to New Holland's Dragon's Milk. And so I just put them down, had to keep a straight face. And okay, so what Bill's showing there is, so I took a picture of the bottle before before we had poured it. And so pretty much this was in 2010. So the Utopias you're seeing there was released in 2009. We were judging in 2010. And it's just a clear bottle with masking tape that says Utopias. And I'm like, I went back to the head steward. I'm like, is this what I think it is? She's like, yeah, keep an eye on that bottle. It'll go walking, because the name alone, brings like, ooh.
And
so
have you ever
I
seen Utopias? Just so it's in a copper bottle that looks like
like a still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is that Utopias shouldn't cost that much on the shelf. It's the bottle that we're paying for.
Yes. Depending on the year, yes. Well, I mean, it depends on the year. And it depends on your flavor profile. But some years Utopias is excellent, and other years you're like, that was a choice.
Yeah.
But so yeah, those were my 2 memorable judging moments.
I've got I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say about this, so I'll have to be a bit careful. But it was the final round of a very large competition, and there was I can't even say the style really because it'll give it away. It was a medal round, and there were 6 of us at the table, and our table captain was a very well-known brewer and like seriously respected in the industry, and to the point where I was kind of in awe, I was kind of starstruck by sitting at the same table with this dude. And not that anyone else at the table wasn't great either, but we finished, and we in these comps you basically have a first round, and that's where the writing is. That's where you give the feedback, and all other rounds are just moving 3 forward to go on. And so this was the final round. We had 9 beers on the table, and it was for gold, silver, bronze. And we're sitting there going, all right, and everyone at the table except the table captain was unanimous in their 1, 2, and 3. And the table captain had them exactly reversed. And we said, okay, well, we were looking at each other going, okay, he knows what he's talking about. Why have we stuffed this up? And he goes back to the style guidelines, which had just been updated that year. And he said, read this one sentence. And if I tell you what it is, it will change. You'll know what the style is and give it away. So I can't. But basically, it changed our entire appreciation of why that beer was the best example of the style. And we still disagree with the fact that it said that, but it had been changed recently, and there's nothing you can do about it. So we called the competition organizer over, and he said, no, your table captain's exactly right. That's one of those, and that's what the style says, so you have to judge it that way. So it was a year where we were all, we just gave a gold medal to the beer on the table that nobody liked.
Oh,
Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh.
no fun.
No fun at all. I've definitely been there. I've had to judge a lot of beers that were technically the style, but not like styles that I loved. And you have to judge it as is.
Yeah.
I know Greg wasn't a judge at this one because he wasn't here, but that's Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. The controversy in square quotes, is that it is now, according to GABF, the gold medal winner for ESB. So that is yes, they entered it as an ESB. It won the gold medal for ESB this last year.
Wow.
So I can speak to this. I actually can speak to this because I have judged medal round ESB before, so, and I'll tell you that hopefully this won't get me in trouble, but it was the most terribly written style in the whole guideline. It's like it was written by people who'd never had an ESB, and I was on the table. It was me and 3 English judges, 1 American and 1 Spanish person, and everybody else was like, that's not right. And it was worse than that. It had English and American variants of ESB, and there was not a word difference between the style.
Oh.
So we called the competition organizer over and goes, how did this get through the thing? And what are we supposed to do about it? And he said, well, you just have to judge to that style. I said, well, okay, but there's not a single beer on the table that we thought was medal worthy. And at these comps, they really want you to give out the medals because it's a big prestige thing for everybody. They don't want to say, if you've ever been to the ceremonies and they read out this category had no gold medal, everybody boos. And if you were one of the judges on that table, you feel really awful. But yeah, so that the style has gone under so many transformations since then. And I just wonder, when I read it I think Rob, you and I talked about it online, and I was pointing out, you drink that Sierra Nevada and you compare it with the style as you're reading it, and it just is. And to me, that's not an argument that Sierra Nevada is an ESB. It's an example that style needs a lot more work. And they probably should go and consult with some, industry leaders. Go have a talk to John from Fuller's or something like that, and get him to nail down the style.
Makes you wonder if Sierra Nevada is
time in England.
It makes you wonder if Sierra Nevada is also kind of upset about this way the style is written, and did it shed some light.
Yeah, well, they would have just entered it in the style that they knew it was going to do well in, and because it ticked all those style boxes, they didn't necessarily brew an ESB. Well, they definitely didn't.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, though, Sierra Nevada is a really good example of a beer that the perception of it has changed so much over the years, because when it first came out, that pale ale was super hoppy for most people. And then the West Coast IPA thing hit, and now people are like, oh, that's no big deal.
Well, it defined the style. Like it literally was I think in the BJCP, it was the commercial example for American Pale Ale for a very long time. You guys will know, Bill and Michelle, is it still?
Yep.
I haven't checked in a while, but I think it probably.
I think it still is.
I think it's still there.
And some of that's respect, but most of it is just they invented that. It was basically it came full circle, right? It started off as an English style pale ale on steroids with a lot of hops and a lot of bitterness, and Cascade, which hadn't been used much up to then. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, to see how the guidelines have evolved. So Bill's been a judge far longer than I have been, but doing the stewarding, it's been interesting seeing things evolve from, I believe we got into it around 2010. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but watching it change over the past 16 years. We've seen new styles come in. We've seen styles modified and changed. We've seen styles actually be revived from the dead. And the folks who have to, keep modifying these guidelines, they got to stay up on the latest news, which is, I commend them, because the beer landscape for a while there was changing every week.
Yeah, and something Gordon Strong, who's the head of the BJCP, did in this last round of guidelines is he started an appendices with that allows for in between guideline distribution, adding of new styles. So like in the latest one, I think there's now 5 or 6 extended styles out there. Things like the Katharina Sour, the Florida Sour, and there's also, I think, the New Zealand Pilsner is now on there as well.
Oh, don't get me started. I've met Gordon. He stole that from me.
Woo!
No, not really. I had a provisional New Zealand Pilsner style that I'd written up for a local competition. And Gordon was over here just after I'd released that. And everyone kept messaging me and going, oh, the BJCP's got New Zealand Pils. And I went and read it and I went, That's remarkably similar. But that's just when two people describe exactly the same flavors, right?
Yeah. And so there's a lot of these, they're specifically very regional things. Again, like the Australian sparkling ale is also, I think, one of those as well. So there's different things that are very regional specific that they're starting to bring in, and because especially in homebrew competitions, this stuff is showing up in competitions without real categories, and when you put them into the specialty, people have no idea what to look for, and it's literally, you're either doing your due diligence and kind of Googling and seeing if you can find information, or you're just basically drinking it and saying how much do you like it or not, without any rubric or any guidelines to know what it should taste like. So it's cool that they can add those things in ad hoc without having to publish a whole new guidelines like they have in the past.
So I'm curious if there are any really cool beers that you've gotten to try that you're like, I judged that beer early on.
Well, Utopias was one, but we went over that one already.
Well, yeah.
I'm trying to think.
To kind of answer for Greg, I can remember being on a group call on, I think, Discord, and I had pulled out a Sanitarium, and he said that he had judged it once.
Yeah. I was on the table that
Nice.
gave it a gold medal, and I hadn't, you don't know until they give out the medals what you've awarded, and so it's great when you see that come out and you go, oh, cool, now I don't.
And we decided it had been enough years between the competition and that.
So one that does come to mind is, it's actually on the meads versus the beers side, but I had gotten to try many of Schramm's early meads because he was a home brewer in the area before he went commercial, and would submit to all different kinds of stuff, especially the Ann Arbor competitions. Since he was an AABD guy, he would submit into a lot of those, and we got to try a bunch of his meads pre him going commercial, which is actually really funny because I think the very last, I think it was Ann Arbor Brews Cruise, I think was the competition. The very last one, we're sitting at the mead best of show table, and Ken at that point I think was a commercial or was just about to go commercial, one of the two. And we're sitting at the mead best of show table, and on the best of show table are 5 clones of his mead. And so he and I and one other guy had to sit there and literally he's like, now I got to figure out which one is the least is the best of the least tasting like my mead. These are all obviously trying to be Heart of Darkness. And it was really funny.
You Michiganders are in heaven and you don't even know it.
Yeah. Oh, we do.
And we are very fortunate to have the talented brewers, mead makers, cider makers in our state. At one point, I know this is a beer podcast, so forgive me if I divert, but at one point, within a 10-minute drive from my house, I had 3 amazing meaderies. Actually, 4. I lied. 4 meaderies near me. So it was incredible just to be surrounded by that many amazing mead makers.
We are a bit like,
but yeah, sorry, Rob.
We are a bit like GABF in that we allow all beverages now.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for being inclusive. I'm glad that they're inclusive. I'm glad you guys are also inclusive of the fermentation scene.
I'm an equal
I wish we could get
opportunity.
mead here. But there's no honey's prohibitively expensive here. The varieties aren't that exciting. They're more tuned to sort of holistic medicine, like Manuka honey is used for that sort of thing, and because of that, it's really expensive. And I don't think it makes a very nice mead. Plus, our taxes are really high. So if people do make one, it's usually a 5% slightly watery. It just tastes like drinking watery honey.
It's a little
And-
hydromel right there.
Yeah. So when I was in
Yeah.
Grand Rapids and we tried that, I can't think of the name of the meadery. It's
Arctos?
yes, Arctos meadery. Oh my god.
Yes.
I was in heaven. So
Yeah.
I'd never really had good mead before until then, and then I was like, oh, this is really good stuff.
Well, if you're ever back in Michigan, let me know. I can get you lots of meads. I'm the president of the Michigan Mead Coalition.
So we'll be taking.
Let's say,
I can
come
take you
join us.
around and get you great meads, great beers, great ciders.
Yeah.
Sold. I'll be over
That
in
is up.
24 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. We can arrange a mead share, like no problems business.
Cool.
Who needs to sleep? It'll be fine. You'll be
Yeah. Overrated.
Are there too many beer styles?
So, in my judging career so far, it has gotten interesting. So, best of show table went from, I think it was like 14 and is now up to like, well, I don't know. I think it was, let me see where we're at here. 34. So there, a best of show in front of you is now 34 beers minimum in front of you, essentially. Sometimes they have others that also fall into that too, if they're adding cider and mead into the same best show. But it is daunting. So though I like variety, I think it does become more of a chore in that situation. But I do, like I said, I was really happy when they started adding in some of those experimental styles and things like that into the BJCP. So
I think to answer that, you kind of have to go into what styles are for, right? I mean, people aren't just going, well, other than people on Untapped, they're not just going, let's make up 6 million styles. They're going, well, this has evolved as its own unique thing. It's not, it's significantly different from this style over here that it came from. So now there are 2 styles. And if you're going to enter them into competition, you need a way to judge them fairly against their peers, not against the style they evolved from, where they may not do as well, or they may do better. If you've got imagine if IPAs and double IPAs were in the same category and all the judges were mad hopheads who couldn't turn on their objectivity, all of a sudden the double IPAs would just win. So, assuming they were well made. So that, we need that for competition. But there's also, I used to be a bit doom and gloom about hazies taking over everything. I still am a bit. But, and I said, well, at least if styles all go away, well, we've got a written record. This all exists. This is now documented history. And at some point in 20 years' time, the next Sierra Nevada will come along and recreate these old styles that haven't been around for a long time, and people will get into them again. So I see it as important historically as well.
You raise a great point of that. You raise a very important part of that. At Homebrewers, we have seen several beer styles be resurrected because they were lost due to time. And I believe it was the Kentucky Common that was found by Michael Capato, who did a deep dive into trying to find, he had heard of it and he did a deep dive. He read a lot of books. And he literally resurrected the style because it was lost for so many years. So as the craft beer bubble has unfortunately burst, and we're seeing breweries close left and right, it is very important to have a history of what this used to be like, because I do believe that it will come back around. It might be 20 years. It might be 5 years. We don't know. But you said it best. It is important to have a good history of what beer is, was, and can be.
Yeah.
Totally different question, but Bone asked in the chat. So hello to all the folks out there in the chat. Feel free to ask questions. We are getting low on time, but still. But he has asked, what is your favorite style to judge?
I think so my favorite beer style in general, like as far as like a broad category, are Belgians, and I absolutely love Belgian beers in general. They're just, yeah, right there with you. But the I will say the most fun ones to drink are some of the open categories. So like the specialty categories or the wood aged categories, those type of areas where you're not drinking, 15 IPAs, that the only variants that you're really tasting a lot of is either, what's wrong with the beer, or slightly varying American hops in in the IPA, right? Which is fine, but you're getting nuanced, and you end up getting this bias of, was this better than the one I just drank, right? And you're not supposed to do it. You're supposed to drink objectively, but it becomes hard when you're 12 beers into the same style. But when it comes to specialty beers, every single thing is a completely different, completely fresh and new something. And some people hate judging them. For one, I think they're fun, and it's very reminiscent of meads, because meads are again all over the board and have different things and different, you could have melomel, can be any fruit from anything, right? Those type of things. So it is those open categories I find very interesting.
So for me, I agree with Bill. I love the open categories, especially when I'm not judging beer and with beer, is because my side gig is I'm a chef. And so I'm like, really, these ingredients together? Huh. Like, I love to see how the palate, how ingredients work with the palate. It's fantastic. It's very alchemic. I would say that one of my favorite styles to judge is probably an English brown. It's simplistic, but I love seeing what someone can do with it. I've seen it range flavor wise so drastically. So so whenever I get assigned to, I'm like, oh, awesome, cool. So
Man, I'm
my 2
so
cents.
with you too. Michelle's just spoken to my heart with the brown ale. I saw Rob giggling as soon as you said that. So for me, I disagree with the specialty categories just because I find it's an absolute brain attack. Like, for me, changing, that last beer might have been a 3% really delicate thing with some sour components and some field mushrooms or something, and then you go to, I don't know, a 12% brandy barrel aged pale ale or something, and it's just, changing and trying to decide and compare one against the other, I find really, really hard to do. I've done it and I don't enjoy it. I think for me, my 2 favorites are, or that I usually end up volunteering to judge, are the wood and barrel aged categories. I just love what brewers get out of the wood, especially when it's it's had spirit in it, or it hasn't had spirit in it, or just different types of oak, or different types of char, or different types of wood. It's pretty amazing. But my other one is, weirdly, for the reasons that Bill hated, I love judging American light lager. It is a really good way to dial in your palate. If you can sit down and judge 8, 10, 12 almost indistinguishable beers, and you really have to hone in on the detail, and that's the part of the judging I really enjoy, like just that laser focus. Right, let's pick out the absolute best one from something that just might be a fraction better than the last one I tasted, So that's me.
So I do have to agree with you. I do love American light lagers, because I enjoy it because I can really see the brewer flex. It is you have to make such a clean beer, because if there's any flaws, it's going to show immediately. But to why we like, I like experimentals and open category, is because my ADHD loves jumping from different types of beers to different types of beers. I'm like, ooh, we got mushrooms, bring it on. What do you mean talking about ghost pepper and cinnamon? Oh yes. So that's how my brain is wired, though. But I can also understand because you love the technicality of judging, that's I can definitely tell you, I can see how that would just be like nails on a chalkboard.
It's great that we're all different. That's why we need different types of judges.
No, that's good because that means you
Absolutely.
get different perspectives when you guys are actually picking out who the winners are. It makes you trust the judges a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
'Cause
100%.
I'll be honest, when I go into a brewery, if I see they've won an award for something, I'm always going to check it out.
Same.
Yeah.
Oh, Rob, you're muted.
Rob, if you're talking, you're muted.
Thank you. I've hung out with plenty of brewers after a competition who they won or haven't won, doesn't really matter. They all say pretty much the same thing. They can't wait to get the tasting notes so that they know, how it was received, what was going on. Because it also depends who they went up against. It's like Best Picture. If there's a lot of great movies out there, then it's tricky.
Yeah, I've been in competitions where, I've won a gold with like a 36, and it's out of 50, right? Which 50 is like almost unobtainable. But I've gotten ones where I didn't even get a honorable mention with a 45. So
Wow.
there are competitions that are definitely more competitive and are harder to medal in than other ones. So it is it's a very broad, and it really matters of who enters into those competitions. That really matters.
Have you guys ever had a 50-point beer across your table?
No.
I've judged. I've never given out a 50, but I was with Gordon Strong when he gave out a 50.
Yeah. I've given a 50 and we agonized. We were like, this can't be perfect. There has to be something better. And yet we couldn't find that thing. And it was a table of, there was a trainee judge and he was still a really good brewer. And everyone else was well experienced in the industry. So no one was blowing smoke. It was just like, wow, there is no way we can not give that 50. And then when we found out it was a homebrew competition. And then when we found out who the brewer was, they'd kind of never made a good beer in their life, so we just couldn't understand how that happened. The lightning has struck; it may never strike again.
Yeah. I gave it a 47, and he gave it a 50, and he's like, "This was great. This was perfect. You're good. That's fine." 47. It was like ended up being like a 40, 8.5 or something as the combined score between the two of us, but I was there when he gave a 50, which is pretty rare for Gordon.
Yeah.
So again, Muttbone in the comments wants to know, with the two of you liking the open category, do you want to see breweries experiment more with beer opposed to just brewing what's popular?
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Sean.
Yeah, I would say yes. I love it when a brewery takes a chance. So I've had this conversation with many individuals, professional, non-professional, just regular beer drinkers. One of the best things about being a home brewer is that we can experiment with a different style, different yeast. We have the ability to experiment without it causing a detriment to our business. It's one of the coolest things about being a home brewer. But if I go into a brewery and I see something that's remotely weird, I want it. Just because you never know what might be amazing. I think that's how I'm about food, cocktails, life. Bill?
Yeah, I'm always for something interesting. Now, interesting doesn't always mean good, right? So I really definitely want something that's good and interesting. And actually, Dogfish Head is known very much for that, right? They're known for finding, a random pot that had a beer brewed in it in 700 BC, and they did, analysis of it and figured out what was in it and then recreated it, right? Those type of things I think are absolutely like mind-blowing and awesome, and I really want to go try that and taste it and see how great it is and all these different things, right? And so in a world of, yeah, let's make the best X, that has a place, and I absolutely love it, right? I'll take and find a place that has my absolute favorite stout, and go after that all the time. But what again makes me kind of very excited a lot of times are things that are thinking outside the box. And a lot of times that's where new categories come into play. That's where you start looking at things like the Florida Sour, right? That was just places that started doing sours that, were sweeter with fruit in them and things like that, and ended up making a new category. And so they, it was something that was fresh and new idea that then became popular in the area and became new. If no one's doing that, then we're going to have the same styles forever.
Yeah, and Mudbone, I didn't mean to imply I don't love open category styles. I just mean I don't like judging.
No, I agree.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They're hard
Right.
to judge.
It's not easy, but it's not easy because you have to be able to pivot when you're in that category.
And I will say the mini best of show in the open category is very difficult because you have, 5, 6 different ones all sitting and you need to pick 1, 2, and 3, and they're all over the board. And you were literally comparing them against each other. That's where it does get a little difficult.
Yes.
Rob, you're muted.
You're
again.
muted again.
Rob, you're muted again.
I need to stop typing so much so I don't get mute. We have passed the 1 hour mark, and so that means we need to start wrapping things up. I'm going to skip my final question and kind of go around the horn and see who has what coming up. Greg, do you have anything coming up that you want to promote in case some people who listen to this podcast might be in New Zealand in the next couple of months?
Just on vacation?
Yeah, just on vacation.
Funnily enough, today we were supposed to have the chili eating competition for the aforementioned deceased chili maker, Clint Meyer. But the guy that has taken over couldn't get the chilies to Hamilton in time, so that's been cancelled. But what we do have coming up on the 1st of August, I think it's the 1st of August, is our 8th birthday party at the brewery. So if anyone happens to be around Hamilton, New Zealand on August, if it's a Saturday, it's August the 1st. Come down, there'll be a band, there'll be fun, there'll be just hanging out, drinking and having a great time, which is pretty much what we've done for the last 8 years.
We're on our way.
Come and
That's
see
right.
me. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I need to clarify, when you say chili eating competition, you are not talking about, you're talking about the peppers, not the
Peppers, yeah, not the
stew
not
with
the
meat in
bowl
it.
of meat. No, sorry, we don't call them peppers. We just call them chilies. So.
Right.
And the chili with no heat is a capsicum.
Bill, what have you got coming up that you might want to plug?
So the Michigan Homebrew Festival is coming up upon us. So that is the 4th weekend in August this year, because usually the 3rd weekend, but this year it got pushed back 1 year, 1 month, 1 week, one of those things, 1 week.
That worldwide stout, man.
Yeah, exactly. It is Burning Man for homebrewers. It is a 4-day weekend camping of all the homebrew clubs in Michigan. They do like big themed bars and are basically all you can drink, all you can eat. People are cooking stuff and just handing stuff out. Amazing beers, meads, wines, ciders, liquors, whatever you can think of. And there's literally like an event at every moment of every time of the day. And so it is just an absolutely amazing time.
I'll be right there.
Yeah.
Come on over.
Along with that is the Michigan Beer Cup that kind of goes hand in hand with that, which is the kind of one of the bigger homebrew competitions in Michigan. And that is being opens on June 13th. Registration closed on July 11th. Drop off is July 11th. Judging will be 8-1, and The ceremony will be at the Michigan Homebrew Festival on Saturday afternoon.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Michelle, do you have anything that you have coming up?
I cannot stress enough to visit the Michigan Homebrew Festival. It's the highlight of my summer. I always joke with people that, oh, you came out to celebrate my birthday at a beer festival? Because my birthday always used to fall, it's supposed to be this Saturday before, but unfortunately the festival got bumped. But you know what? Why not celebrate my birthday the entire month? Why not?
Sounds like a plan.
No, it is an incredible festival. And since we were talking about experimentals, this is where you see the homebrew community really flex. I've seen them ferment Mountain Dew. I've seen them do some unique things. I had a garlic beer a couple of years ago. It was delicious, but no, this is where you really get to see people really try different things. It's an incredible time. As Bill says, it's Burning Man for homebrewers. I was walking one year and some guy goes, you come here. I'm like, yo, what's up? And I mosey on over and he's like, I just pulled these venison meatballs off my smoker and I killed the deer. I'm like, well, I don't want to be rude. I'll take 5. And it was, so no, it's definitely a really great community. And you really get to meet new people that are just incredible and try amazing beer. So I have to jump. I had a big back.
That garlic beer sounds like a good way to kind of mess up judging for everybody else who comes after you.
Ooh, don't get me started about the capsaicin beers that we've had.
Wendy, what have you got coming up?
I have a cruise, and I can't get past the cruise, to be honest with you. That's all I can think of is that I am going to be on a boat here in less than 48 hours. I will be heading to Cerveceria Punta Sur while I'm in Cozumel and visiting our friend Adrian. So I'm really excited about that, to bring in some people to try out their beer, where I'm going to try the lionfish. Or the lionfish pizza,
Yep.
this time for sure.
So good.
So other than that, expect to see me out and about a little bit more now, because I have some backup here for the summer. So I'm going to get out and start getting back into the breweries again.
Awesome.
Can't wait to see you, Wendy.
Can't wait to have you back.
For myself, I don't have anything immediate coming up, but in June and a bit of July, I will be in Australia and New Zealand, and I am very much looking forward to that.
That's so exciting. I'm envious.
We might not let you leave, Rob.
Yeah.
Well,
It's also hard to look past that.
sounds like you're open in August. You should come up to Michigan.
So I will actually be in Michigan Labor Day weekend, as I am every year on Labor Day weekend. I will be in Grand Rapids at Grand Con, and I highly recommend it. It is a great party. It is a board game thing, and it is so much fun.
Nice.
But we get to plenty of breweries that weekend as well. It sounds like it's the weekend after the Homebrew Festival. I
Yep.
could stay for
Come
a
up
whole
a little
week, maybe.
early.
That's right.
It's only a 4.5 hour drive from you.
Yeah, that's right.
We could find you a place to stay. It'll be okay.
I think I have a place I could crash in Grand Rapids, actually.
Grand Rapids is a little far from Lake
It
Orion.
is far from Detroit, yes. I have done that drive. I was working in Rochester Hills, and I did drive over to Grand Rapids before coming back to Indianapolis.
Whew.
Just go
So-
sell some Amway and sleep in their offices.
That's right.
Though he is technically still a Midwesterner, so a 4-hour drive means you can't fly there. You have to drive it. So
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Pretty
you might
much
be
the
right.
edge.
Oh,
As far as show stuff, first of all, Kent is doing a job of getting brewers together into our postponed March Draftness in May. So our March Draftness will be happening. Keep an eye out for that. On May 8th, we have Nick Lezagor of Exit 12 Homebrew, speaking of homebrew festivals, and he is going to talk to us about BrewTubers, an online homebrew group. So I am also looking forward to that talking to him about that. On May 22nd, we will be talking to Chris Lane from Renegade. I was in Denver recently, planned to visit 3 breweries, got stopped at a second brewery, and just never left until I had to go back to the hotel because it was just too late. And Chris is largely responsible for that. So he will be on. We'll talk to him. And then June, well, Wendy and I are going to be jet setting, boat setting.
We're going to try to pre-record some shows ahead of time so that we can still post shows, but they will not be live in June.
Yes, we won't be live in June. It'll be something different. We're going to try it out. It'll be fun.
Have a great trip.
Thank you. And as to that is all of our stuff that we have coming up. And so we will go ahead and end the show at 1 hour and 10 minutes. Thank you all very much. It has been very insightful. We've been wanting to do this judging show for a long time. Hopefully we get a part 2. We'll work on that too, but it has been wonderful. So whatever you think of your beer, we think it's better on draft.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Good on you.
Mm.